Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls out there in TV land in Southbridge. My name's Rich Merrill, and I called you all here today because we're doing what we do every year in May. We have an election coming up in June, and in May, we try to get a debate together, and we have one tonight. We have 4 candidates that are running for a 3-year seat, and we've only got 3 positions. So you'll be looking at the 4 candidates and you'll be eliminating one or voting, on a positive note, voting for the 3 that you prefer. My name's Rich Merrill. I've been living in the town for about 40 years and I'm always amazed that we get so many people that actually want to do this job. This job is an enormous job, and I have to say thank you to anybody who even considers running, particularly for council, but for any seat in the town government. We're going to get started right away. We have a couple of rules to follow, but first let's do the introductions. We're going to go from left to right so you can see who the 4 candidates are. On the far left there is Gil Provost. And right next to him is David Adams. Then we have incumbent Jasmine Reeves and Michael Montigny on the far right. What we're going to do is something a little bit different this year. We're actually going to try to have a discussion about each question that we have. We have about a dozen questions. Hopefully we'll be able to get through those in an hour and a half to 2 hours. And we have extra questions if we have extra time. But we're going to be having a timekeeper here today. And I first of all want to thank Southbridge Cable for actually putting this on tonight. And the Town Election Forum Committee as well, which I am a member, as well as, there she is right there, our timekeeper Maureen Doyle, Gus Steves, and Shelley. And I knew I was going to make that mistake. It's Shelley, and Shelley, I appreciate you coming in too and helping us out. Let's start with the questions right now. We have a few rules, but first, let's do the introductions. I'm going to spend about 2 minutes to do an introduction for each of the candidates. They can look right into the camera. That's your camera over there to take a look at. If you want to speak directly to the people at home, have a good-sized crowd here today. Nice and cool in the hall, too, with the weather that we've been having. And whether you're watching this live now or whether you're going to be watching it closer to election time, I think that you'll appreciate what the candidates have to say. And we'll start with Gil. Gil Provost, you have 2 minutes to make an introduction as to why you're running and just an introduction to the people at home, who you are.
Hi, I'm Gil Provost. I'm running for town council. I was born and raised in Southbridge. Resident, I am a taxpayer. I love this town enormously. I'm a veteran of the United States Army, the United States Air Force. Former call firefighter for the town of Southbridge. I'm a former assistant scoutmaster for Troop 7, proud father of an Eagle Scout. I'm also a owner of Pro Plumbing and Heating in the town of Southbridge. Also the assistant plumbing inspector in Southbridge. I'm on EHS and Education and Human Services. I'm vice president for all the plumbing inspectors for Worcester County. I'm also on the Board of Health and the Animal Control Facility Subcommittee. Thank you.
Thank you, Gil. We'll go to David Adams next. David was a former counselor and is running now to join the council again. David?
Thank you, Rich. First of all, I want to thank you and the committee for putting this on this evening, and welcome everybody to the debate/forum this evening. My name is David Adams. I'm rerunning for a seat on the town council. A little bit about myself. I spent 26 years in the United States Marine Corps, served in multiple places throughout the world. I'm married to the former Mrs. Natalie Lacoste. We have 5 beautiful children between the both of us, 3 boys, 2 girls. So our house, even though empty, is very busy sometimes. I started off, I grew up in Southern California. I'm a transplant over here. I was stationed, my last duty station over at Westover. Holy cow. We were just talking about Westboro the other day, so Westover. I was a senior enlisted there, active duty sergeant major on that side. My past consisted of the largest unit that I ever was responsible for was over 1,200 Marines and sailors deployed throughout the world as well. So I started my political career off over a conversation with a friend of mine, and I said, why do we have so many gas stations in such a small town? And sure enough, he said, well, if you want to change that, why don't you do something about it and run? So I got introduced to the Redevelopment Authority, and I was elected, though I won overwhelmingly, but I was the only one running too at the same time. That being said, that was my introduction to municipality government. Then I was asked to be on the Board of Health because there was an issue with the Casella when they were looking at shutting down the landfill. From that point on, I sat here back in, I think it was March of 2018, and I watched the town council come up here, and a business owner was wanting to do a really good project, though small, for the town, and there was a conflict of interest in many ways, and that project never happened. It still hasn't happened because there was a difference of opinion between the business owner and town council, yet that business owner was willing to help the town. And that made me decide to run. So in June of 2018, I ran, won overwhelmingly. It's the first time I actually had to go through a debate. I had Scott Lazo, I had John Daniel, Jack Jovan. I mean, there was like 10 of all these experiences up here. And so I ultimately won. And so during that period of time, I spent 6 years here on the town council. And within those 6 years, I was the Planning and Development Subcommittee chairman for 5 of those years, DPW chair for 1 of those years. I was also the chair of the town manager interim search committee. The town manager, I was also the town manager chairman when we were searching for a new town manager.
Thank you, David. You know, one of the things I didn't do, and that's my fault. In fact, I forgot Shelley's last name is Klein. You forgot Westover, and I forgot to tell you all about what the lights are all about there, and I'm going to tell everybody right now.
Oh, okay.
I interrupted you.
I got like 10 more minutes up here.
Yes, I know
All right,
you
gotta
did.
go.
And I could feel it in my bones, and because it was Memorial Day weekend coming up, I thought, well, I'll give them a little attitude. But let me tell you, people at home, what these lights are all about, because we're going to be keeping track of time here, and so that we have, so David won't go on and on and on. But that's okay, because I gave you Gil's time because he was a little bit short on that, so we're even. But the lights, we've got 3 lights there, and if you could just light those up. Maureen Doyle is our timekeeper today. If it's green, you talk as long as you want until it turns yellow. And when it's yellow, that means you have about 30 seconds left to go. When it's red, that's when I rudely interrupt you like I did just now. All right?
Yes, I felt that, thank you.
And I appreciate that. My apologies, but that's the rules that we are going by today. And Jasmine, let's do better, okay? Jasmine's one of the incumbents on the current council, and it's her turn to speak.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the committee for putting the forum on, my fellow candidates for participating with me, and the viewers for joining us tonight. My name is Jasmine Rivas. I am currently a town councilor. I am a mom of 2 young men, one a Shrewsbury firefighter, the second a senior at UMass Boston. I'm the daughter of the 2 people I admire for all of the sacrifices they made for my siblings and I, my parents, who I live with and help as they age. My family came to Southbridge when I was 5, and we wanted to be closer to my abuela, and my parents wanted to raise their family in a small, quiet community. Southbridge fit the bill. My mom worked, like many other people, at the AO. My dad was a bus driver in the city of Hartford until he found work as a truck driver closer to home. I learned my work ethic from my dad, who became the first Latino who owned the small market on North Street, close to Debbie Sickles' school, dance school. And my mom, who was part of the St. Mary's Church Latino Women's Group, taught me to be community-oriented. I took all of those lessons with me to college and in my professional life, as I worked as a journalist, a victim advocate in the district attorney's office, and as a grant writer, administrator in the schools, and youth worker. I have integrity, compassion, and hard work. Those are the 3 things that I take with me are the skills that I implement every day in the work that I do as a town councilor. I humbly ask for your vote on June 10th at the Southbridge Community Center so I can continue to bring my experience, my expertise, and my good character to this dais. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you so much. And thank you, Dave, for your understanding, too.
Yeah, you're welcome, Rich.
Okay. Making friends here on the Southbridge Town Council meeting here.
That's
Mike
how you do
Montigny.
it, Dave.
2 minutes, right?
I'm going to give you 2 minutes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Merrill. All right, my name is Michael Montigny, and I am running for town council for re-election, and I am kindly asking you to please consider me for your vote on June 10th at the Southbridge Community Center. And I have to thank you so much for your vote 3 years ago. This has been the most humbling and an honor of an experience the last 3 years to sit up here and represent you. I've been able to be elected by my peers as the vice chairman of this town council. I'm a former chairman of the General Government Subcommittee. I'm the current chairman of VHS, and I also was in 2023. I'm the owner of a 6M Studios videography business in Southbridge. I'm the former station manager of Southbridge Community Television for 4 years, a former TV production teacher at Southbridge Middle High School for 4 years. I was also on the school committee in 2019, and I also taught Southbridge Middle School in 2019. But I don't really want to make this too much about me. I'm here to let you know that I'm rerunning because this town and this group up here has worked so well together. We've accomplished so many different things, and we are finally at a place where we have repaired the foundation and we can handle anything that comes as us, and you can finally see the issues in Southbridge start to dissipate and we start to have clear skies ahead. So don't forget that the roads have been getting done. Don't forget that the schools are 1 year closer because of our school committee, who has done an excellent job making their way through the state phase 1, 2, and 3 plan to getting our schools back. We have change at the receiver level, a new superintendent coming, which is going to be a great thing for our school system. We've got so many towns around us, if you don't know, that are doing 2.5 override votes because they can't even support the daily operating budget. And I'm proud to say that with the help of this council over the last 3 years, we have not even discussed 2.5 overrides for big things, let alone operating budget. So with all of the things that we have in this town to offer, I ask you please, if you can keep me there for another 3 years, I would sincerely appreciate your vote, June 10th, 2025, for Michael Montigny. Thank you.
Michael, thank you very much for your opening statement, too. He talked about clear skies ahead in the middle of a northeaster we have going on outside now. But thank you. There are some rules that we're going to be following today. We're going to ask a whole bunch of questions of you, and what we're going to do is just pick someone's name randomly out of the hat here. And that person's going to have up to 2 minutes to actually answer the question. Then what we'll do with the other 3 candidates, you'll have 5 minutes total to debate that question, to talk amongst yourself. We won't be calling on you. You just speak up when the time comes to actually say what your opinion on the particular question is. You can take up the full 5 minutes, but you won't be able to because we'll stop you. No one's going to monopolize that 5 minutes, but at least you'll have a chance to discuss amongst yourself. The person who answers the initial question and has 2 minutes to do so can take part in the debate as well if needed. So why don't we get started here? We're going to pick a name right out of the hat, and we'll go with the first question that we have. And Jasmine, you're going to be the one answering the question. You'll have a couple of minutes to answer the following question. And I have it right here. Like so many communities, our town's population is aging. What do you feel the needs are of today's seniors and those soon to become seniors, and what will those needs be? And how would you plan for those needs? You got a couple of minutes, starting now.
Great. Thank you for that question, Rich. I think this has been a topic of conversation recently in many of our council meetings of our population of seniors. And we had a group of seniors here on Monday who were talking about being priced out of their rental homes, their apartments, that they thought that they would be living in until the day that they left this world. And so they are very concerned about not being displaced and not having a place to go. I think that is a common issue and something that we're going to see with many developers coming into the community and buying up property and increasing rents, and not only renters but homeowners, where their property taxes continue to rise and people are on fixed incomes. And so we really need to take a look at what are our housing options, what are some programs and some ways that we can ease those concerns and work on a housing production plan for one, which will be presented to the town council, sometime later in June, and other ways that we can bring in more programs and services for our elderly population. Again, more housing specifically for elders, and programs where elders can get some relief, when it comes to rent. Food insecurity is another issue with our elders, with the ever-increasing cost of groceries, and I think that looking at the community fridges we have and increasing some of those programs in our community are going to be of utmost importance for our elders in our community.
Now, we'll start the 5-minute timer and actually go with that question. And thank you, Jasmine, for your response there. Anybody else want to kind of debate that question? You could just talk amongst yourself if you want. David?
Thank you, Rich. I asked for people to vote for me on June 10th before we begin on that one. So
There we go.
Just finish it up the start. I agree with Jasmine and a lot of other individuals who just recently we had a town council meeting where a lot of seniors came up here and talked about the housing being priced out. I also think healthcare is also one of those areas in which we have to pay attention to, because if I can't afford something like that, I'm pretty sure the seniors who are seriously on a fixed income are having a difficult time as well. And the system is broken, and we all know that federally and statewide. But, the other night we also brought up with ideas. And you get up there and do your own research as a town councilor. Got up there and talked about, you could go through RCAP, call the 211 number. You can end up, for rental assistance and getting you the right areas. Tri-Valley is an amazing organization to help out with too. But not only just the rental side of the house, but we're also talking about the property owners that are out there that are seniors as well. When you can utilize free cash, CDBG money, to start some type of revolving account to help them offset that. Obviously, there's got to be guidelines, and not everybody can be helped, but there's got to be parameters set, and we can utilize that within the town and help support them as well. And I would absolutely say people have to do the research, individuals have to be educated, but one thing that we've helped out in the town, we hired a young lady in our senior center who's done an amazing job bringing that all back into the fold and bringing all the seniors back into our senior center and make sure that they get the classes and education. And I think as a town council, it's our responsibility to help support them as well.
Anybody else want to weigh in on that? Go ahead.
I'd like to add to that. I think we should start working with local government like Council Lazo, maybe Senator Fatman, Representative Marcy, and maybe Peg Dean could actually get some grants for elderly housing and veteran housing.
Mike?
Yeah, there's not much of a debate with this one. We're all very touched by the problem that's going on, and it was terrible the other night to see everybody in such turmoil. But as far as that goes, when it comes to that Lebanon Hill housing project, we have to be able to do our research, like Mr. Provost mentioned, with the people, John Marcy, the state rep, and Senator Fatman. We need to get them aboard and see if we can help this current project, which might have a HUD transfer sale in there somewhere that could actually prevent it, that we don't know about, could be preventing actually leaving elderly status and going to the way they want to do it now and double the rents. So besides that, we have to figure out, I think, how to stop all these extra housing projects that are coming into town and find out how we can provide for our seniors and our veterans when it talks about housing. But the Council on Aging is never more invested than they have been right now. And there's a lot of people for this town that worked and retired working for this town. And we have to make sure that their health insurance and their retirement is still okay. And, the senior center, former Councilor Adams hit the nail on the head. Katie Alicia Tilton has done a fantastic job providing for them. We were there just the other day, all four of us, and it was just great to see the place working at such top notch.
That's great. Anybody else?
I do want to jump in. I think I have to disagree a little bit about stopping the projects because I think at the state level, that's not possible. You know, when we have requirements when it comes to housing stock. And so, especially when there's an issue across the whole state, I think working with the developers that have these plans and making sure that our community needs are met rather than letting it be the luck of the draw and, you know, and just, you know, having it forced upon us. I think working together and making those projects work for our community rather than against our community is what we need to do as a council. I also want to jump in on the healthcare issue. I think Mr. Adams is correct. That is going to be a concern that's ever increasing concern in this community. And we think back about the family health center that left this community, and Mr. Adams and I, when he was on the council, worked very hard on that issue, getting services for the many residents that included many seniors who were left without care. And so I think looking at services and making sure that places like RMG are supported as they ever increase and support our community, and also looking at transportation and making sure that we continue the fare free, because our elders do use transportation when they can no longer drive to get to their appointments in Worcester and other areas nearby. And so those are some issues that are going to be coming up that we should all work together on.
Thank you, Jasmine. Actually, that question folds into the next question that we have, which is question number 2. And by the way, just so you know, the people at home do see the questions on their screen as you're answering them, so they can kind of refer back to it. But if you ever need me to repeat the question, certainly say so. This is about housing as well. The town has been talking about the need for more housing since at least 1983's master plan. Over the last 25 years, Southbridge's school population has shifted from about a 30% low income to an 80% low income population. How can the town, and this is your question, and this will go to Mike Montigny. This is your question. How can the town promote and support housing development that's actually affordable to Southbridge residents and suits our community? Mike, you got 2 minutes.
Thank you. Well, the way that we can actually support these housing projects is by having incredible oversight on them. One thing that people don't realize is that at the town council level, we don't have a complete say, and sometimes in certain situations we have no say over what goes on with the housing projects. But we need to work together as a community to figure out exactly what the intentions of these people are, because we came up here and we heard a presentation a few months ago from another group of people that bought a bunch of property down near Hamilton Street, and that was a concern at the time, and now we're being thrown with this project at the old tag, Lebanon Hill Housing, and it's just not working. So when I hear people wanting to come in and turn like our AO from commercial industrial land into residential, like they already have in some places, and it just hasn't really solved any problems, okay, when it comes to housing, we need to take a step back and we need to figure out the process that it takes to come into Southbridge. There are plenty of state laws, but we also have our own laws here. There's a thing called the bylaws that are coming up this year for a bylaw review. It happens every 5 or 6 years, and we need to take a long, hard look at those bylaws and see what we can do to make sure that people can't come in here and disrupt our citizens. There's another project in town, if people aren't aware, where they're trying to turn the Elm Center Cafe building into 40 units. Do you mean to tell me that we're going to limit the amount of parking that you can have for the people in this town hall that work here? A lot of people who live in Southbridge won't have enough place to park, let alone the fact that we're going to have a fire station, and everybody talks about how great it would be to sell the old fire station and make it a brewery in a perfect world or something like that, something where our citizens can actually use. Right across the street you have a housing complex, and you mean to tell me that the taxpayers of this town who owe you $4,000 to $6,000 every year can't even park in front of the town hall to write you the check to fund your budget because you're going to put 40 housing units in the Elm Center Cafe? This doesn't sound like anybody has a handle on housing, and we need to stop and think for a second what's best for all of our Southbridge citizens, not just the people that want to come in and develop.
And let's start the clock at 5 minutes, because that's quite a mouthful, actually. You've had quite much to say. Any other candidates want to weigh in on the housing question?
I'll jump in.
Sure. Now, keep in mind, your microphones are always open during this, so feel free to speak up.
Great. I do agree that there needs to be transparency with the developers and the projects that they're proposing. I think having them come to the table a lot sooner rather than us finding out about these projects. I just found out about that project as Mr. Montigny, Councilor Montigny just spoke. And so I think that is one of the issues in making sure that these developers and the developments, the projects that are coming in, again, are responding to the needs of our community. And one of the things that I'm proud of, that I did some work that I've been working with Central Mass Regional Planning, our Economic Development Department, and a few of our residents here on a housing production plan, where we surveyed residents about housing, about their vision, what are the strengths, what are the obstacles or the needs in Southbridge, and all of that information has been put together, I think, creating sort of a housing trust and making sure that this group of people, has, sort of, kind of a hand in talking to developers and sharing that information with people that we're courting to be developers, coming in with projects that match what our community is looking for, so that we maintain the character of our community, but that we do have development and housing that meets the needs of today. Another piece is legislation, and there are a couple of housing bills in the state, at the state level, around rent stabilization and housing, and talking about creating more oversight when it comes to evictions. And I think that as a council, looking at that and advocating for those bills to be passed so that there is more local control in our municipal government, right? Our town council has control over rent stabilization, and it's not just left to the state to dictate to us what is or isn't going to be affordable.
A couple of minutes
Thank
left. David, Gil, Mike, anything else to add?
Like Councilor Rivas said, I think we need to get more, probably bylaws, to make more affordable housing for everybody, whether it's elderly, young people in our community, and especially our veterans. There's got to be more control, and it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be an overnight problem, and everybody's going to have to work together to get this done. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Just, a lot of agreement up here on certain things, but one thing I will tell you is, because I helped with the wells, I helped with 5 through 15, we brought that through the planning and development, and that was a one-on-one conversation with Chip Norton and a few others to bring some of this, and took care of the old mill buildings and an old school that needed to be renovated, and it helped our main street out quite a bit. But what it also caused is when you put affordable housing in there, I'm not against affordable housing, the big issue is once you bring in a larger population, doesn't matter who it is or what it is, you bring that large population in here, then all of a sudden what they forgot, the state who mandates a lot of this, forgets to provide the services needed, including police department, fire department, look at our urgent care, it's closed half the time, so the hospital issues, DPW, the school system, so it adds all that to it without real proper common sense planning. It's just throw this at it and we're going to make this happen. And so I've been part of that whole process of bringing affordable housing in, senior housing in. We're in a process of veteran housing and stuff like that. And I've talked to the Secretary of Veteran Services today about it for the second time to bring it in, because it's not normal housing when you bring seniors and veterans in. You need clinicians, you need counselors, you need all this stuff. So it's great to house somebody, but you also need to provide the services to support that increase. Because if not, somebody's going to get hurt or they're going to die because we don't have the proper services. So I think we're talking about this until it's that horse has been dead for a long time. It's now time to start taking some issues at it and actually making some decisions here, because I think we could do some of this stuff at the local level, but at the same time, we need the support from the state. And right now, the state is not looking at changing anything. I think we need to add some pressure to it, especially boots on the ground individuals within your own community reaching out to those state representatives. I know our state representative is on board, and I believe the senator as well, but those are two individuals. We need more to help us out. Thank you.
Mike Montigny, when you mentioned that people wanted to turn the old fire station into a brewery, I saw that too. I saw a number of people that said, "Oh, that'd be kind of cool." And I thought, bring the fire horn back. That'd be your last call signal, you know?
That would be fantastic.
End of the night, you'll clear that place out with that fire horn.
It would make us a
going.
destination for sure.
Yeah, for sure. If only we could afford it. Question number 3 is about planning again. The town is finalizing a new open space recreation plan. Now, here's your question, and this will be going to Gil Provost. And it is, what do we need to provide recreational opportunities for its residents, for whom, and how would you do that?
Great question.
You got a couple minutes.
When I was in the Air Force, we had a recreational place that you could go and rent tents. You could rent just about anything to go camping, you know, water, boats, anything. Maybe if we would put something like that we could have like a rental place for it, you know, bring a business in that would do that and rent stuff, and people would come there. We got rivers, we got parks, we got everything in this town, and the youth, that's where it all starts. And then we could do more parks, maybe, you know, maybe upgrade the skate park for the youth, maybe get them, there's a youth center coming into town. That's a great thing that's going to happen to get people in here. That's about it. Thank you.
Now, you have 5 minutes at this point if you'd want to just kind of debate that question amongst yourselves.
So I'll just throw something out here, and I won't be long about this, but the open space planning is an important part of the town's, what it's going to look like in the near future. So I remember the BMX skate park, and it was nothing but wood, stolen stuff. It was a mess. The kids were doing the best they could, and the DPW was spending a lot of money on trying to fix it. With the right people in place within the town itself, now that conversation of how we're going to fix that, now we have a beautiful skate park over there, BMX park, and there was a lot of naysayers. That included certain town councilors. But now look at it. That place is a regional destination for the youth from Charlton, Sturbridge, Oxford, Auburn, and obviously here within Southbridge. We have the rail trail issues. These are things that we took years and decades to finally get, but within the last 6 years, those things have happened, and they've opened up those lanes for everybody. And again, with the right personnel and the staff. That came from ideas from the town council. I know part of it was the skate park. I know I was adamant about it, a lot of us, about the rail trail, and the Henry Street playground area over there as well. So there's a lot of things like that, but then there's these pocket parks we put in there, those open areas where people can go out there and relax a little bit. The Veterans Council of Southbridge, which I'm the president of, just redid the World War Memorial Park that's over there. That's an open space, and there's more people over there, and there's more programs, especially for not-for-profit organizations, that go in there and have picnics and have classes. And so it's been busier over there, and that's what it's supposed to be built, to honor our veterans, those that passed away, those that died in combat. But at the same time, people should enjoy that area where it's peace and quiet, and that's what we should be looking at. And so I think the town has done an amazing job with the open spaces, and I think it'll even be better when they revamp it a little bit and see where we want to go.
Anybody have an idea? When's that rail trail going to be fully connected?
I just took the tour the other day, so I think they're supposed to be ending either this year or next year. I will say there's a lot of trash on the side, so the Rail Trail Committee is going to be full swing, and we've already started talking to have a conversation about getting barrels out there and a lot of trash cans, and it's got to be a team effort to clean that place up, but it looks amazing. It's starting to look amazing.
Jasmine, you have anything to add?
Yes, I do, actually. Thank you. I think giving credit to Peg Dean and the amazing grant writing and opportunities that she has brought in regards to the rail trail and a lot of the different projects that Mr. Adams just mentioned. We also recently, because there had been a playground on 600 block that had burned down, and we just had voted to revitalize that playground. And I'm happy to say the other day when I was doing the Beautify Southbridge cleanup that playground, looked great. And I know that the families in that area really appreciate that playground coming back online. And I think being creative, especially with the developers going back to housing and thinking about one of the projects that Chip Norton had talked about included some open space that would be accessible to residents. And so looking at projects like that and trying to get the most for our residents, thinking about residents in areas where they are far from the local parks to make sure that different pockets of our community have access to recreation, makes a lot of sense. And so really thinking with that in mind, what projects and what can we get from developers coming in as far as open space and collaborating with our community.
I think Mike wants to say something too. You get about a minute left.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree with some of those points. I think I've heard about enough about Chip Norton and people from Worcester and how we can pad their pockets and bring their population over here. I think Mr. Provost hit the nail on the head when it comes to Esteban Carrasco and the job that he's doing, a Southbridge person that's doing for Southbridge kids that are going to grow up to live in Southbridge. I think that if you look at that side of town in Charlton Street area, we've got the Rios Park that's being dedicated over there. We've got this youth center is going to be top notch. If you haven't toured it or seen the plans, you should look online because they are fantastic. And then the fire station, a $26 million fire station going to be built right there in front of existing playgrounds that we've already rehabbed with millions of dollars. So I just think we need to take a long, hard look at putting Southbridge first and, forget about the noise from elsewhere with people who really don't want to help us and do what's best for our citizens. We need to get back to the basics, and we all need to support the things that are going on in Southbridge. Thank you.
When you talk recreation, Esteban's name comes up quite a bit, doesn't he?
He's a great citizen of this community, always has been.
He's done wonders, he really has. We'll move on to question number 4. Annually, we've heard a brief discussion about the split tax rate, but it always ends up with the decision to keep the current tax rate at the single rate. Here's your question, and this is David Adams, you'll lead with this one. Where do you stand on the idea of shifting to a split tax rate? How much of one and why?
Thank you for the question. That's an interesting question because it is a hot topic every single year when we set the tax rate or the council sets the tax rate or Board of Selectmen set the tax rate as well throughout other communities. And what I've noticed, and I've supported the single tax rate all the way through because we don't have enough businesses here to be able to do a split tax rate and then hopefully they'll stick around. And we talk about mom and pop stores and that split tax rate hurts. Now, a place like Auburn and Oxford, just recently, Auburn did a split tax rate, and this is the first time they're testing it in Oxford for a split tax rate. They have a lot more businesses than Southbridge has. But I will say this, I'm open to it because I sat down with Will multiple times. Maybe I would change my mind on the split tax rate if it could show me that it works. Now, the single tax rate that we have right now, we're maintaining it. I know we have some businesses coming into town, and I think we're going to have some more very soon. But I would say this, we're still at about 80% residential taxes that have to kick up the funds for everything, and about 20% for these businesses. So it hasn't really changed even the last 7 years. So my concern here is if we do the split tax rate, or we put a little bit more burden on the triple deckers or the rentals and all that kind of stuff, I think, without good process, because a lot of times you find that you start talking about split tax rate and single right when you're doing the tax rates. I think it has to be a conversation to be had a year before that and start having that maybe at the general gov subcommittee meeting.
Thank you, David.
Do I have another 20 seconds?
Yep, we're
Done. All right.
Well, there you go. It's time now to do the 5 minutes, and go ahead. Jasmine, Michael, whatever.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, the split tax rate is a very interesting conversation, and I think you might be rounding up, Mr. Adams said generously, 20% commercial, that would be the highest it's been in a while. And I completely agree with what he's saying, but you can't switch the tax rate now to split rate because there's just not enough commercial to fit the bill. You're going to scare the businesses that we do have right out of town. We need to get back to basics first before we can even start to get cute with the tax rate. You keep it the way it is, and then you fix the school system. You raise the property value again in town, and then people are actually going to want to come here and move their family here because you have a school system where they can take their children and raise their family with all these other things that we've already talked about in the last question. So at that point, and hopefully Amazon succeeds in Charlton, and they can end up, I always say, if you build an exit up there to the Mass Pike at 169 and 20, you have a direct shot to Southbridge. At that point, maybe in 5 to 10 years, you start to see a lot of bigger businesses come and push that number that Mr. Adams mentioned up to something closer to 35% or 40% even would be. Now you can start to think about split tax rate and really start to help the homeowners. But because of what the state did by taking over the school system and plummeting our values through the floor over the last 9 years, we have no leeway to do split tax rate in a feasible situation that actually makes sense. It is a good idea, but we need to work on getting the schools back before we can do that.
And so I was one of 2 counselors that actually did vote for the split tax rate, and I've also recently met with the town manager and Mr. I forgot Dean's last name. Anyway, I forgot his name, but he works with the town manager, and we talked a little bit about how the tax rate is set, and about a split tax rate, and they had some of the same points that Councilor Montigny has talked about. I do think that we can do it a little sooner than 5 to 10 years. I think that we have to take some risks in order to help our community relieve some of that tax burden, especially for our seniors. Again, our community has a large demographic of seniors who are on fixed incomes, and we need to find solutions much quicker. I do think that the school system is going to be back in our purview in the next 2 or 3 years with the work that the school committee is diligently doing on their plan. And I do think that, as I do agree with that with Councilor Montigny, that once we get the school system back under local control, we're going to see a shift there and be able to attract more businesses and really enhance that and increase the workforce with our students having some different options. I'd love to see some of the trades come back into our school system that we used to have, right? And so that businesses coming in, maybe manufacturing, will be more attracted to coming in and saying, oh, okay, we have some trade school, we have some trades coming into the school now. Maybe this is a community that we want to invest in. And then at that point, thinking about splitting the tax rate, even 10%, it doesn't have to be 50-50, to really start seeing what that could look like.
Gil, what do you think about the split tax rate possibilities?
I disagree with Councilor Rivas. I think we should keep it the way it is, single tax rate, get more businesses in this town, then think about what we're going to do with a split tax rate. We don't have enough businesses in this town. I'd love to see a really good restaurant district on Central Street, just like, everyone wants to come to Southbridge instead of everybody wanting to go to Sturbridge. I want Southbridge first and always Southbridge first.
Thank you, Gil. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think it's important. The councilors are already, and I know Gil as well, but the schools have really, when the state took over, you already had the bad reputation in a sense, but then you've got the state taking over, which hurt the economy in our schools even more. And so bringing that back to the town, I agree wholeheartedly that we'll help it. But the bad thing is there's a perception out there, and that perception lasts for a long time. So it's up to the team and the staff and the town council to get that perception removed from our town and move forward with it. And we could talk about agricultural stuff as well I'm assuming school stuff will be coming up.
Well, we're going to go on to question number 5 now, and thank you, David. The question number 5 is about revenue and ways that you suggest that we can generate revenue besides property taxes. And the question is, and we will give this to Jasmine. Jasmine, what other ways can you suggest besides property taxes to raise revenue in Southbridge? Got a couple of minutes.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the ways that we talked about recently when we hired a new management for the waste treatment facility was creating a way that we could sell the compost and generate revenue in that way. So I think, exploring that or working with that management company to see what type of revenue they can bring in. Thinking about some of the vehicles that might be going out of commission. I know that they put them out to auction. Those are some ways that our town makes revenue. And thinking about our school buildings, I know we recently had a presentation in the fall about different options, thinking about the different buildings and the buildings in disrepair. And so thinking about maybe consolidating some of the schools and possibly selling off or utilizing buildings in a different way might bring in some revenue to the town.
Okay, we got 5 minutes to debate it from here. Mike, you had your hands raised. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Merrill. Yeah, I got to disagree with that, too. I'm not sure selling surplus trucks is going to be considered revenue for the town, but I could tell you one thing about how we used to have a lot of revenue for the town, and councils have destroyed that in the past. Of course, the citizens, and maybe a lot of us included, ran the dump out of town 7 to 8 years ago, and now we have to pay for trash. We used to make almost $2 million a year off trash for revenue that would be offset against our taxes, and we used to be in the trash business, and now we're not, so be it. But we used to have this water company in town that we had all the rights for in the area, and then you take town managers like Kevin Pecos back during that day of the town council who took the deal that we had and start giving the water to Charlton and paying Charlton and not getting royalties from Charlton. So, we had all this revenue in place. And as people sit here and try to reinvent the wheel over the 10 years ago, let's say, we got back to basics with this council. This council leadership has gone back to process and procedure and reset the foundations of this town so that we can actually try to get a hold on things. We don't have that special revenue coming in from the trash and the water anymore. The water just blows my mind because why would you have to pay somebody for your own water? But we now have the opportunity to sit back and not have to worry about those 2.5 overrides and budgetary concerns. So the revenue, there are other towns, Oxford just didn't pass their 2.5 override for operating budget for police. I mean, could you imagine with the 40 police officers that we have in town, if you're public safety and EMS, we had to be asking you to raise above the legal limit taxes? We have a fine grasp on this taxes because of Michelle Hill, Dean Iacobucci, and Jack Jovan, the finance team. And we are able to breathe here. And we need to get creative when we bring in these businesses. All these questions go together. Bring in the businesses, fix the school system, and then you will be able to team up with a number of people that aren't even sitting at the table right now. You don't even know who's going to come here to be a part of Southbridge when we actually open up for business and the state goes away. We're going to get the schools back in like the next year, not 2 or 3. This is coming now, and all these solutions are going to happen. They're just going to fall back. Our school committee is doing an outstanding job. The receiver just quit. The commissioner just quit. They don't even know what they're doing out there in the state. So we are, the spotlight is on us. People are going to want to be working with us soon, and the revenue is going to come. We should just be happy and thanking everybody that we don't have to go to the ballot for a 2.5 override, raise taxes just to operate.
But
I'd like to say,
Yep, go ahead.
Councilor Martini said it. He's like, the only way we're going to get more revenue is we got to bring in businesses. Whether it's be business friendly in Southbridge, bring more business in this town, get our schools back, our property values will start going up, and everybody will be happy in this town.
I think there would be. How
Thank
about
you, Rich.
anybody else, David?
I think it's a multifaceted question and answers, I should say. But I would say, I understand about the schools, and I agree with the school system. You get that and the reputation back, and you bring younger couples in here and from there. But you also have a thing called the Redevelopment Authority in this town. You also have a thing called the Southbridge Business Partnership, which I'm on the board of directors for. And the concept is that within multiple towns throughout the Commonwealth, they utilize their redevelopment authority and these associations, not-for-profit associations, where they work closely with the town council, the town manager, administrator, and they go in and they actually are able to take over a building. They're able to take over a brownfield area or something like that, and they're working with the town, utilizing grants, stuff like that. They're able to build these things back up and also bring in small businesses within that area. It's been a proven fact. So these are areas, but we also have to look at our side, making it a regional, of the regional assets that we have. The rail trail is going to be a regional asset. The BMX park, the skate park is a regional asset. There's things here within the town, our museums and all that kind of stuff are regional assets. So you continue to do that. But the Southbridge Business Partnership can go in there and team up with the town from one nonprofit to the municipality itself and start taking some of these buildings with the support of the town, and they can develop it that way. Other towns have done it. I think we just need to do it. And our redevelopment authority, which is an elected office over there, and also has a state state person assigned there, is a big factor, and we have never utilized it to its proper potential, and I think it has to happen. Another thing is, I was the ARPA chair, we gave American Rescue money to the economic team of $300,000 for low to medium area businesses, and I think we could do better. We can give them more money so there's zero interest, so they rebuild some of these buildings. HTE is one of them. Southbridge Credit Union is another one. They got the dental office over there, and we were able to invest in ourselves, and it brought back businesses and brought back the tax revenue. Thank you.
Thank you, David. You know, we've got a couple of questions. Jack Joven had stopped by a little bit earlier this afternoon while we were setting up some of this, and he said, are there any questions about the town manager? Of course, we couldn't tell him if there were any questions about the town manager because it's a secret amongst the four of us and the cable director as well. But this is one that is about the town manager, and David Adams, I'm going to let you do this one. Here since our town manager started a couple of years ago, he has had no written goals. The question is, what do you feel his primary goals for the next year should be, and how would you evaluate them?
So I'm going to start off by admitting myself, I was in charge. I talked to the chairman at the time. I was going to do the evaluation and the goals, and then we're going to do it. At that point in time, we made a decision not to do it, and that I'd take responsibility for that. And I think the evaluation and goals should be part of the town manager. It's part of the contract. It's like, I don't want to pay you today, but it's part of the contract, so you got to pay the man. But I would tell you this is when it comes to the town manager's goals, communication, keeping the eye on the ball of what the goals would be. So a goal is good communication with the town council and the rest of the rest of his staff and the community. Another goal would be to make sure we're working with the schools to get them back into the fold, and we're working as partners here. Another area is economic development. Like I've told the town manager, I've been in that position multiple times, and it's very lonely on top. But your goals, you got to keep your eye on the ball. And another area is, besides economics, you talk about your staff, your individuals, putting the right people at the right time, or right places. But we've had, I think he's doing an amazing job. I think he's put people around him where they need to be and has helped the community out quite a bit. When we talk about, I would say another thing is reaching out to state entities and federal entities on a constant basis and working closely with them to be able to bring those grants in, bring those small businesses back into the town. So when we sit down, counselors should sit down and take a look at the goals. They should all kind of agree within like 3 areas. And one of it is good communication. Another thing is economic, bringing the schools back at this point in time. There's plenty more.
So we've got about 5 minutes here to talk about goals for the town manager. Should he have them? What should they be? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I want to jump in here. I absolutely think that he should have goals. I think that as one of the counselors at the beginning who did not vote for this particular town manager, but I have seen that without goals, we do the town manager a disservice because he has been working really hard and he has been working cooperatively and communicating. He doesn't hesitate to answer any of our questions. I email him questions all the time. I do think that it's important. First and foremost, staffing. He's done a really good job working with our HR department and filling vacancies and going out and looking for qualified people to fill those vacancies, even though, you know, when he first came in, there was a lot of turnover. And so I do think that he has been diligent in that aspect and a good leader. You know, you can tell by their staff, right? And whether people stay for a good leader. And so we can see that building in the town hall with the staff that he has and the departments where he is working hard on our budget and looking at some tough decisions that they had to make in this budget season when the health insurance had increased. And so looking at that management, economic development, as Mr. Adams said, is another priority area. We definitely need businesses. I don't disagree with the other people up here. And that is one area where the town manager is, you know, the face of our community. Everywhere he goes, he is advocating for our community, for businesses to come in, for developers and people coming in that want to do business in Southbridge. He's the first point of contact. And so that is key, as well as the school system and supporting the school committee, working with the new receiver now and making sure that that relationship doesn't go sour as it has in the past, and keeping those lines of communication you know, strong between the town and the school.
I want to get a couple other people involved in this too. We got a couple of 2.5 minutes left. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, yeah, communication seems to be the key theme here when you're talking about goals. It'd be good communication with the council and keep getting a grasp on the personnel. But I was there with Councilor Adams when we decided not to do the goals because Jack Jovan's cleaning up a mess right now, or he was for the better part of the last year and a half, 2 years. And you have to ask yourself, well, what, you want him to focus on 3 goals when we have 10 holes in the ship? No, fix everything. That was basically our message to him. We don't have to spell it out at that point. We were in dire straits. We were at the beginning, when Dean Yakabuchi got aboard, we noticed that we might not get our money for the schools if we didn't file certain paperwork right away. So we're at a point now where the mess is clean, and you're basically asking him steady as she goes now. But communication is always good, and economic development, yeah, we have so many projects already started and in the chute. Jack has to make sure that he's working closely with the DPW and Peg Dean to make sure that all these things go off nicely. But, you know, Jack has done a great job over the last couple of years since he's been here. And to be able to finally say, after 2 years of having him here, you guys gave the Southbridge guy a chance to run this town, and look where we are now. Are we better off now than we were 3 years ago? Absolutely. And Jack Jovan as town manager is one of the reasons why we are.
I actually absolutely agree with you, Mr. Montigny, Councilor Montigny, excuse me. 100% got to get our goals, should be our schools, communication, and economic development. We definitely need more businesses in this town, drastically.
Thank you. Anybody else? We got about another minute.
If you don't mind.
Another minute?
Give me another minute. I got cut off earlier, so give me a break. Anyways, you know, you can, and I agree with the counselors. You can turn around and sit there and say, we're going to give you 20 items to do, but there's 40. And it's constant. You want to get the biggest ones you can, and that's a team effort by the town council to provide the proper information to them. So I think at that point in time, I think this year is a good idea, but at the same time, you have to be evaluated. Just like your employees are evaluated, you need to be evaluated as well. Thank you.
Just to give you an idea, we're about halfway through right now the debate forum, and I think the candidates, all 4 of you, doing an excellent job. I'm going to take a minute here because on this ballot coming up, not only do we have to vote for the 3 candidates here out of the 4 that we have, but we also have a binding question, which I think is interesting. And I'm going to read the binding question that's going to appear on the ballot. And I think we'll spend some time with this just so that you'll be aware of what this question's all about. I'm going to read it verbatim. The Southbridge Town Manager shall, within the next 12 months of the start of their employment, be a resident of the town of Southbridge and shall not cease to be a resident during their employment by the town. The town council may annually, by a 2/3 vote of the entire town council, not less than 6 councilors, waive this requirement. So we have a binding question that's going to say, do you want the town manager to live in Southbridge and to require that? That's the question. And I'm going to just pull a name out of the hat here and ask you, Mike Montigny, would you answer that question?
Yeah, I was hoping that it would come to me because I kind of spearheaded that when we were talking about the charter changes. You know, it's important, clearly, to put Southbridge first, and Jack, who obviously lives in town, has proven that, at least for our town, it works. I know you can compare us to all these other towns, but that doesn't mean anything when you're talking about Southbridge. Now, I wish it was just more plain and simple on the ballot, something just saying they have to live in town, maybe after 6 or 12 months, period. But that language that you just heard was what the councilors decided to agree upon, and it is what it is. It's the start to something more. If you're very pro-Southbridge and pro this idea, we could have had on the ballot, if there was enough flavor for it, the ability to make it so all department heads, all the ones now would get grandfathered in, and future department heads would have to be living in town too. People didn't seem to want to do that right now, and that's okay. But if you think that the Southbridge First model works, clearly, Jack Jovan has been the best town manager we've had in nearly 30 years, I think that you should support this thing, and I obviously was the one that brought it up at the Council of the Whole meetings that we had for the charter review. But if you don't vote for it, it's okay too. You know, all that matters is that you actually come out and vote and actually do your duty as a voter to see what happens in town. You know, a lot of people don't like to touch the presidential election because it's very, you know, black and white. But when you're talking about local elections, that affects you at home. If this doesn't pertain to you, and you know, maybe you don't have to weigh in on it, but you should reach down into your gut and find in your conscience, what do you think is best for the town? Do you think that the town manager should live in town? If you do, vote yes. If you don't, vote no. If anything, there's worded in there plenty of restrictions where it can't put anybody into back anybody into a corner or do anything unethical to anybody. It's very well written. It's a little less aggressive than my first thoughts, but it's on the ballot finally. I think we had that discussion maybe even over 2 years ago. It takes a while to get those things.
And it'll be hitting the ballot, so this is a binding question that the people at home are going to be voting for. It's important to understand it. I'm glad we have the 5 minutes to debate this too. Let's start now. Go ahead.
I think with the provisions that it takes within the first year, and also with the piece about the 2/3 vote that it could be waived, I think that makes it a fair implementation without having it just be a blanket. This person has to live, and there's no wiggle room if you found a candidate that you needed to waive that. Piece, that requirement for. And so I do think the way that it is written is something that makes sense for our community because we'd rather have someone from our community that is qualified to do the job. But certainly if you found someone that was, the best candidate and there was some reason why they couldn't live in town for some reason, you'd be able to waive that with a 2/3 vote. So I do think it's a fair question.
And one of the provisions on there, it says it's a 2/3 vote annually, while the town manager is the town manager.
Right.
I remember when I was younger, that a town manager actually had to live in town in order to be our town manager. I'm not saying it should be that way, but I think if the town manager lived in this town and he saw the day-to-day activities every day and he stayed in this town, and he pays taxes in this town, he'd be more apt to take care of this town and always put Southbridge first.
David?
So I was probably one of the dissenting individuals of making it a blanket, that you have to live in town. and the reason why I felt it would put us our backs against the wall if we had a great candidate. Now, I would tell you this, I know other towns in which that's a requirement, and that's okay, and it's good for them. Maybe it's not good for us. We won't know that anytime soon because we have somebody from Southbridge that lives here, and he's the town manager. But at the same time, it was a compromise. The town council came up here because I was absolutely not going to just put our backs against the wall. But at the same time, we had a great conversation, and it got passed the way it got passed. Not that I wouldn't say that and say, hey, you have to live in this town. And I agree with I agree with Gil here. You're that individual seeing our town, smelling our town, understanding the town, instead of just coming in the same way from Holland every day and not checking the roads or driving around. So, you know, it forces the individual, and people know, I would say on the positive note, that people know the town manager. They know where the individual lives, and that's part of reality. They know where I live. They're going to know where the town managers live, and they stop by, and yeah, if you go to the coffee shop, you're going to get pulled over and talked. But I would say this, it was a good compromise, my belief, and I think it left open a possibility, but it also, when somebody's applying to be our town manager down the road, they go, well, this is something that the town council has to vote on and to make me live there. So hopefully the individual that wants to come to Southbridge or say he wants to be or she a town manager, they take it to heart that they have to be in Southbridge and be part of our community, period. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Did anybody else want to add anything else? We'll go on to the next question then, and that would be question number, where are we all the way up to? Number 8. And this is DEP is recently required the town to create a water ban bylaw triggered when the state declares our county in drought. Here's the question, and this is going to Gil. Gil Provost, what do you think the best way to conserve our water resources for the long term would be?
We are very fortunate for what we have in Southbridge for water. We have all surface water. Surface water is one of the best types of water you can have for municipalities, for the town and everything. We have, I believe, 5 huge lakes for our water. As far as water, I mean, we got more water than any other town in the area. I'm well aware of that. Our water is very good. We got a very good water department. As far as conserving, that probably less watering in the, tell you can't water your lawns like Southbridge does, from 8 to 5, but I don't see that we really need to conserve water. We got more than enough for our residents and our fire department.
I know we have 5 minutes to go right from now, and we'll talk about this, debate it. Go ahead, Michael.
Thanks so much. Yeah, Mr. Provost hits the nail on the head with the fact that we have the amount of water that we do and such a good situation with the water company. I personally don't really think that there's a need for that water ban, and if there's one in place by the state and you have to listen to it, so be it. But Mr. Provost could tell you himself, he's a plumber with a business in town, and there's a thing in the settings over the last few years where they made it so you can't set the pressure in your house to more than 80 psi, and people used to have it 100 or more at times, and even Washington is walking back those regulations because they're not proving to do much. So I don't think we need to stop taking showers, stop using our swimming pools and stuff like that. But yeah, if you can't water your grass during the day, if you can help it. I mean, we just got a monsoon, a couple times in the last few weeks. But this town is very fortunate. He's right. I mean, we don't have the kind of problems that other towns have, and we really don't have, knock on wood, any problems with forest fires and brush fires like that in town going out of control. So I just don't think it really much pertains to Southbridge politics or the landscape here as much, but I do appreciate your question.
David.
Thank you, Rich. Just a couple things. First of all, we give our water, or provide our water to other towns, and they use it as fit. They use it for whatever they need it for, but it's at the same price, right? So if you raise that price to those other towns, maybe they'll conserve some of our water as well. I think the state mandating certain unfunded mandates can conserve some of that water as well, because it's costing the town more and more money every single year because of these unfunded mandates. I take a look at, obviously it's a natural asset for us, statewide, countrywide, whatever it may be, but, the state mandates certain things from us, but they really don't put a lot of thought into this process. They don't even have the oversight to be able to do certain things like that because they don't have the manpower. I think the state needs to get out of it with a little bit of oversight as far as our ban, this possible ban at the time, because I just think it's going to hurt our economy as well, and then our own natural resource that we have. We keep providing to other towns at the same rate that our residents are paying for because their stuff is tainted. I don't think that's a fair choice. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to add something to that?
I want to jump in. Recently I did go on a tour of our water management system, and I do agree that we are in good shape in Southbridge with our water reserve. And I don't agree with sort of a blanket ban. I do think educating people and conserving water is not a bad idea, considering, climate changes and, and trying to look towards the future. But I do agree with Mr. Adams and Councilor Montigny that sort of a blanket ban, infringing upon our community when we're doing our due diligence, and other communities might not be doing that, I think does infringe upon us, and it does hurt our community because we're doing the right things to conserve and to have that reserve in our water, supply doing well. And so I do think maybe educating or sharing information with other towns so that they might improve their management system, and helping residents, and always sharing information is good, but to have a blanket ban, and I certainly am a person that I appreciate regulation, but to impose something across the board when our community is doing a good job in this area, I think does a disservice.
Anybody else?
Just want to give a shout out to our water department. They're amazing.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I actually work in a lot of large apartment complexes in my plumbing career, and a lot of things apartment complexes paid me to do is put water-saving shower heads, aerators on our faucets, and put low-flush toilets in. That's another awesome way we can actually conserve water in our community.
And being a plumber, you would obviously...
I'm well aware of it.
Thank
well
you very
said.
much. It's good to know that you're a plumber and you're kind of a neighbor of mine, so I just wrote your name down, plumber. I may have you over my house very soon on that. Let's go to the next question here. We're on question number 9. Last year, it's about the schools. Last year, the schools reported the results of their facilities study as needing well over $100 million in upgrades to all the buildings except MHS, which is the middle high school. The town is also looking into renovation needs for the town hall. Recently approved a $20 million bid for building a new fire station, and has been working and doing more road work in recent years. Now here's the question, and it will go to David Adams. David, here's your question. How does Southbridge balance the need to maintain and upgrade our aging public facilities with the fact that residents are already seeing spiking tax rates? It's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question. Thank you, Rich. I would tell you this, is that obviously you have to have proper planning to do something like this. You cannot sit there and pull out loans for all these facilities that are outdated, not taken care of over all these decades. Again, that was probably bad planning on maybe generations past to hit buildings to buildings. When it comes to the schools, though, I think you have to take a look at the population of the students and how many students and their age groups are attending these classes. So, take a look at some of these older buildings. Is it worth redeveloping that building or selling that building or utilizing it for something else down the road that that we could possibly get grants and use our own money to rebuild as well. This town hall, you take a look at it and you say, well, it's easy enough, and I've seen other towns this size turn around and tear the old building down, and then they put this modern building up. The fact is, this town hall is our town hall. I mean, look at the memories and the history behind it. So I think it has to be a step-by-step process. When you go out and you start looking at bigger projects like the fire station, and then possibly now, and I think Councilor Daniel, because he was a big push to take a look at this building, the town hall. I think what you do is you have to take a look at our bond rating. We have to take a look at what debt is actually falling off, and then being able to step right in, shovel ready to start the new project in there. So it's a complicated question, but the town can do it. It's just how do they do it, and then the process. As long as you plan properly, it will keep the raising of the tax rates per se to a minimum. I just want to make note the tax rate of this town has gone down by $7 in the last 7 years, and that has a lot to do with the economy of our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have about 5 minutes to pretty much debate that question. Jasmine?
Yeah, I want to jump in. I completely agree. I think being creative and looking at the funding and where that funding is coming from. I know for the fire station, we were able to get a federal monies to offset the amount that the town would have to, give into that project. And so looking at, we have one of the best grant writers in the state in our economic development department, Peg Dean. And so being able to look for funding, whether it's federal or state funding, that will offset the cost and not have to go out for loans to, that would increase our tax bills will be helpful. But also thinking about the school facilities and our enrollment and consolidating some of the buildings and looking at what we might do with those buildings, whether they're falling apart. I worked in the school system as an admin of after-school programs, especially when West Street, when there was the damage to the pipes and there was water damage to the library and some of the other areas. And so really looking at what is the cost to fix those repairs. And I know we just gave money for an elevator to be repaired at Charlton Street School. And so having an analysis and looking at all of the different ways, what is that going to cost to renovate a building? Would it be cost effective to just sell the building off and consolidate grades into one building? And so all of those different ways that we can try to plan and make sure that we're not putting the burden on the community and the taxpayers, those are all creative ways that we can look at. The town hall is a historic building. There might be historical grants that we can go for to help renovate, this beautiful building with all of its history. And so we have to look for the funding sources and work together to make that happen.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you. Yeah, that elevator wasn't at Charlton Street, it's at West Street. My stepdaughter goes there. I go there all the time, and I just don't feel like I'm walking into a building that needs to be, taken down. And I also don't feel like when I was presented with that study that Dr. Villar had given us, which is probably why it wasn't a very good one, it comes out to $133 million in repairs for the 3 buildings, which could be done over 10 years. Then they told us they needed to be done within 3 years and that a new school would take us 10 to build for like 90 million or 95 million. And I asked the gentleman, I said, so you want us to repair something in 3 years for 133, or how much of it can get repaired before the 10-year project is up? None of that made sense to me, and it was a bogus presentation. What it did show is that the budgetary end of it, we do have the funding mechanisms to handle this project from any way that we see fit. We don't even have a building committee when it comes to the elementary school, and we need one regardless of if we're going to do extensive repairs or have a new building. So we need to sit back and actually figure out what it needs, and that's something that the town council is responsible for. They're responsible for the town buildings and the school buildings and their infrastructure, which brings me to the point about the town hall building, getting the study for what are the things that this place needs as repairs, and Councilor Daniel and I were big supporters of that, and we got the study done, and we found some extra money to repair the roof, and we kind of all just looked at the former town manager, Mike McCall, at that time and said, how long have you been here and you've let the roof leak and you haven't fixed it? So, it's really not that out of control of a question. If we just sit back and take a look at what's going on, we can probably identify the problem and tackle it pretty easily, the same way we've tackled everything else. I don't think the sky's falling yet, but the elementary schools and fixing these town buildings are definitely the next big thing that's up on the menu for what this town needs to focus their energy on now for the betterment of our entire population.
David?
Yeah, I agree with Councilor Montigny. Hey, one thing that we can take a look at is a building commissioner to come in and take a good hard look at project manager per se that takes care of the buildings. Other towns do it as well to help us out. But the high school I went to is over 100 years old and gets redeveloped every 50 years, or 25, whatever it may be, but they're still standing to this day and it's still utilized by those. And the thing is, we need to look at that. Obviously, ADA compliance is a big thing, but you got to, take a look at, is it worth tearing down to rebuild it? I don't know if that's the answer. I think it's a case-by-case basis on each building that you look at.
Gil, there's not a lot of time left.
That's
We
all
can
right. I
extend it a
actually
little bit.
absolutely agree with Mr. Adams here. We need to get some type of a committee to handle all this stuff and then bring your presentation to the council.
Okay, thank you. We're on question number 10, and I'm going to read this here. Historically, the town has had studies repeatedly saying that we need to repair and improve the same things like housing and infrastructure and social services, but they haven't much happened. Here's your question, and this would go to Mike Montigny. Where do you want the town to be? Where do you want the town to be in 2050, and how would you get there?
Well, thank you.
2050. I'm doing the calculations in my head.
2050. You usually have how do you see it in 10 years? And I know if you elect me, I'm tasked for getting us through 2028. But 2050, maybe flying cars. No, listen. There has to be that full overhaul of basically everything we've been talking about. I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but we are totally on the right path. We're going to get the schools back. The property value is going to get better because of it. We've got a handle on so many different things. Blights, roads. I mean, the amount of things that we finally have control over rather than letting them go awry. You don't even understand how bad the finance department was when our town accountant left and Jack took over. It is literally night and day, and thank God for the council that we've had to get us here. But in 2050, we should be flourishing like the town that we once were. I mean, we used to have the American Optical, everybody knows it, but that used to employ 5,000 or 6,000, 7,000 people in this town. And that is pretty much what started the downfall of hurting the citizen that lives in Southbridge. And if we can be fortunate enough to, I keep saying, because it's true, if you build it, they will come. Fix your schools, fix your roads, get the access point in Charlton to get to Southbridge. In 2050, we should be a destination. There should be restaurants here. I love going to Putnam with my wife. Why? I don't even know. They have a bunch of restaurants. There's really nothing else to do there. That gives me hope for Southbridge. We don't have Six Flags, but there's a bunch of cool restaurants in my mind that could be setting up in this brand new tip project area. The brand new rail trail can have so many stops on it. People of all, Democrat and Republican and in between like to go hiking and go on these rail trails. That alone is going to make us a destination. If we build around it, by 2050, we'll be the best town in central Massachusetts. And I truly do believe that because I've been here long enough, I've been through the bad times, and I can feel the tide changing. They said the master plan back in the day, you alluded to 1983 earlier, Mr. Merrill, and back in the day they said that we had a self-esteem issue, and I can feel it going away. The citizens of this town do not beat up on themselves as much anymore. We band together and we stick together for Southbridge first, and it will prevail. By 2050, will be sitting pretty.
Yeah, by 2050, I think I'll be at my 80th high school reunion, you know?
God
So,
bless you.
you know, so I don't know if I'm going to be around to enjoy that, but anybody else got a vision for 2050? You got 5 minutes with this if you want.
Again, I go back to the planning process. The town of Southbridge is notorious for doing studies on grants, paid by grants, and then not, they're doorstops. You have to dust off all the plans, and instead of enacting on it or trying to come to a compromise, it sits there. I would say, another famous word is, we've always done it this way. I understand the AO was here, I understand we had a landfill and all that kind of stuff, but those are past tense, so we always have to think outside the box. You can't sit, you can't sit on your laurels and say, this is a great thing, and then not go, well, how can we make it better? And how can we make it better? The town should always challenge itself to make itself better, be it through a council, staff of the town, the residents of this community. These studies, and now I'm seeing these studies starting to help and work, and we're taking a proactive approach. Even if you don't agree with the study, we're starting to make an active approach. I'll give you an example, the roads. Everybody knows about the roads. We all understand that, and I got that. But I tell you what, 7 years ago, we had a conversation, myself, Heather, and Ron, and we had that conversation about why aren't we helping ourselves with these roads, and why are we so dependent on everybody else to do it? So we started off with a small thing, and then it's turned into, there's a major plan. I mean, there are roads being built, there are bridges being rebuilt, the infrastructure projects are happening. And I think we continue down that pathway of not just sitting here saying, yeah, it looks good, and just watch it, and it'll deteriorate again. So our process should always be challenge yourself to continue to make our town better. And, in 2050, I don't know, I may be 6 feet under by then. I don't know about that one.
That's a very optimistic prediction you have right there, David.
Yeah,
2050, 25 years from now. Jasmine?
So plans are only as good as the people implementing them. And so thinking about the master plan that, that Peg Dean got off the shelf and started to look at, and that's where some of the plans for the rail trail came to fruition. That was a plan that was sitting on a shelf somewhere for many years, until someone took that plan and said, we've got to do something with this. And so 2050, a vibrant, community, roads that our cars aren't going to break down on because they're not, they're messed up. Having a cultural vision, right? A cultural, vibrant community. We have Gateway Players. We have the Ruth Wells Art Center. And really expanding that and making the community a cultural destination where people from different communities not only come for the rail trail, like Councilor Montigny said, but they come to see a performance and come to see an artist that is well known across the state, and then they stay to go to the restaurants that we have on Restaurant Row. Open space in every different part of our community so that residents, families from every walk of life can enjoy those parks and those open spaces that are accessible, right? That everyone, whether, a family has a child with a disability, can enjoy them in the same way as anyone else. Also, our school system, that it isn't only, that we have buildings that work, but we have a school system that sets our students up for success, whether they're going to college or whether they're going to work or whether they're going to open a small business. And so bringing back trades into our school system and making sure that our students have different options, maybe even a community that utilizes our vibrant airport that we have, and we have a program where students can become pilots. And so utilizing all of these assets in our community, where someday maybe we have a small airport where we are doing passenger transport to, within the United States or something like that. And so thinking outside the box and utilizing the assets that we have, a community that we take care of people that our social services work together with our town officials to make sure that people who have substance abuse issues, who are homeless, are being taken care of and that they're not being thrown away. And a community where we have a great public transportation system that is available to everyone.
I
Thank
just
you.
want to get Gil in this too. Gil?
Sorry.
Just like Council Rivas said, is like if you do a study and we don't do anything with it, people have to act on it. You definitely have to act on it. Without acting, it's just a piece of paper or a door stopper. And where I see Southbridge 50 years from now is probably one of the greatest towns in the whole nation, and my son owning the largest plumbing company.
And it would be 25 years from now. It's what-
Yes.
Yeah. Let's hope it happens. Thank you for your answers on that, too. You know, we haven't even talked about the schools. I mean, we have talked about the schools, but we didn't have a question really about the schools, and here is one right now. Question 11 we're up to. How can the council support the school committee in transitioning out of receivership and afterwards? Now, I've been doing this debate probably for the last 8 years, and that question has come up for the last 8 years. And Jasmine, can you start to answer that question? How does the council work with the school committee get out of receivership? Where are we?
Thank you, Rich. I think the council being familiar with the DESI plan that was agreed upon last year and making sure that we are supporting the school committee in their transition to obtain, oversight of the school, as well as making sure that we're visiting the different buildings and seeing what's happening on the ground. I know recently Councilor Daniel and I went into the middle high school and saw some of the work on the ground. I used to work in that middle school as a family liaison, and many times teachers were in my office crying day in and day out. When I went on this visit, the mood and the climate was much different, and teachers were happy to be there. They were engaging with their students, and really for our council to go into the buildings on a regular basis and look at what is happening on the ground, be familiar with programs and projects like the Health Foundation grant that the school recently got and the CARES program, where students are going to, 9th grade students in transition are getting services from Clark University, students that are coming in to work with students around goal setting, around social emotional learning. There's going to be a sensory room, and really understanding what the needs are and what our families and our students are talking about, and understanding that the teachers, have asked us, they've gotten a contract recently that they had been negotiating for years. And so supporting teachers when they tell us this is now working, this piece is going well, and let's continue to build on what is working well, while also asking tough questions about things that aren't working well.
Thank you, Jasmine. We got about 5 minutes. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you. I know it's really easy to stray away from the actual question in a debate, but to bring it back to the discussion, to the question, well, how can the town council work with the school committee? Those are some great ways that we can work with the school department, but the school committee, they only took over us, they claim, because of all the political relationships not being well. So it's really simple. The town council just has to get along with the school committee. I think that's why Chairman Lazo was able to help out the chair and the vice chair this year so much. He purchased the Robert's Rules of Order books for them, as it was a real focal point of their first phase 1 part of the DESI plan that Councilor Rivas had alluded to. But as far as what can we do to support the school committee, I'd love to tour the school often. I think with Dr. Villar gone, that'll be happening much more by counselors. I'm just not sure how that supports the school committee, but for me, anything that they can use us for to get through phases 2 and 3 on that plan is going to be something that we need to do. We focus, we stay together, the 7 of them, the 9 of us, they're doing a great job, and all they need from us is support. We need to be a phone call away from them and from the state when it comes to what can the town council do to be a part of the plan to return the schools back to Southbridge. I think that's what your question was asking, and I hope that answers it.
I think that it does. Go ahead. Any more debate on this?
I think we're all on the same sheet of music with this and trying to figure out how we can really support the school board. I think they've done a 180 from just a few years ago, and I really appreciate what they're doing here. The fact is, you're putting individuals that really care about the schools itself back in the positions, so I'm happy to see them go through that. I remember telling the chair from last year, school board chair, that the state handed you a plan. Execute the plan, and our schools will be coming back to us, because I don't think that flavor at the state is there any longer to be in control of it. And we don't blindly sit there and support the school board, not as far as, we got to have a say, we have to have a conversation. But I think the great thing is the communication has gotten better over this past year. Even myself, not even part of it, having good conversation with school board members goes a long way. I was one of the counselors. I've seen every school visited. I met with Dr. Villar every month. And I didn't blame Dr. Villar so much as the state for where we're at. But I will tell you, the school board has done an amazing job. And as a town councilor, I think that's one of your responsibilities. And and I may differ from some of the ideas here, but going to see the school to understand what's going on, maybe some of the things that they're having to go with, I think that helps out a lot. And I do agree with pretty much everybody up here. I think they've done an amazing job. I think the leadership has done a good job transitioning, ensuring that they're going to the classes they need to go to, and that, like the Counselor Lazo providing the books. Those are just basic things that they lost over these last 8 years of leadership and how to run a school or how to run a school district. And it has to be the crawl, walk, run process. And I think they're at the crawling and walking, and I think they've done amazing. And I think the town council should be supporting them as much as they possibly can.
Anybody else want to add
I
something?
actually agree with Councilor Montigny. It's communication's got to be the most fort between the town council, the school committee, and the superintendent. That's the only way we're going to get off of receivership to make our schools great and make Southbridge great again.
Jasmine, did you want to add something? It looks like you do.
I do. The best way to support the school committee is not undermining a decision that they've made or a request that they've made to the town council. That is the best way that the town council can support the school committee.
Okay. We actually are running a little ahead of schedule, aren't we? Just a little bit. And we've got extra time. I did want to just ask a brief question, but I did want to check with Gus. Gus, are there people that are running for the school committee that are here? If you could take a look around, because we...
They are.
Okay, so we do have some people, and this is for you people at home too. We're going to take some time as soon as the town council is over to have a small forum with the school committee members and ask them a few questions. The people on the school committee that are running are here today, and they have agreed to come up front and actually speak to you as well. So hang on for that. And then we've got a couple of questions here that we still want to finish up too. This is kind of a bonus question, and Charlie, if you don't bring up the next slide, that would be good, because I'm just going to throw this question is, assume that you all get elected. Assume that you get elected. What's the first thing that you'd want to put at the top of your list to discuss with the council? And just anybody answer that question. Go ahead, Jasmine.
I think housing would be at the top of my list. That is something that, there have been a lot of discussions on lately, and so I think that would be one of the targets, priorities for me to bring up.
Okay, Mike, do you want to?
Yeah, well, for me, being an incumbent like Councilor Rivas and being a part of leadership, I think it's really business as usual, and I think we've made it pretty clear. I hate that we've all been so redundant with some of these answers. I've kind of come to the same focal point at the end, but the next thing on the list is clearly the schools and how are we going to navigate through the elementary school system. Housing is already being taken care of. That's something that we've already got the wheels in motion on. Councilor Lazo and I have been working with State Representative John Marcy on trying to get some relief for the citizens of the elderly complex right now. And I've already made it pretty clear that I think we need to take a long, hard look at new projects and vet them incredibly well before we let them come in. But we need elementary school, we need to get our head wrapped around that because it's not $133 million in repairs to fix those schools. That is not true. You have a high school at Cole Ave that's completely usable right now, and we can look to fix that. But starting a building committee and getting that discussion going, is just the first step to continuing on with the roads. Our DPW just got a new DPW Southbridge born and raised. Bob Lamont is our new director, and we only have a couple positions left to fill. So if we can continue to fill those positions, continue to work on the roads, the school committee continues to handle the education, getting the schools back, we can continue to focus on how do we fix the buildings. I mean, we have too many projects going on right now that we need to just focus on to really say the sky is falling on any issue. The children and the elderly, the young and the old in this town, it's got to be the focal point. And that elementary school, we got to figure out how to pay for it, how to fix it, and keep doing the good work of Southbridge First, good workings in government, working together with every department. All the department heads have been fantastic. Jack has been an excellent manager, and the school committee has been the best school committee we've had in almost 10 years.
How about David or Gil? What would be the first thing that you'd want to tackle?
I'd like to tackle bring in more businesses in this town, more restaurants, more industrial retail, everything we can do, because without businesses, this town will never thrive.
And David?
I gotta tell you, there's a lot of things on my plate that I would bring right away. I've already met with pretty much all the department heads as I did 6 years ago, just to see what we're doing right, wrong, and indifferent. And I gotta tell you, it goes, housing is one thing. Schools is another one. I mean, I was part of the agricultural push with Senator Fatman and a few others to take a look at Southbridge schools as an agricultural regional school as well. That, I haven't heard anything. Transfer station that we talked about at the curbside committee years ago. Why haven't we had that conversation? So infrastructure, businesses and bringing them in, and rental assistance and the property taxes as well. How do we help our seniors and our veterans in a lot of way to help afford it? So it was just like I was running on town council. My fingers was trying to be in everything that possibly could be, and so I won't even. I'll start off where I left off.
Thank you, David. You know what? We've gone through about a dozen questions, and there's one question that we ask almost every forum, and it's the same question we ask every year, and it's usually towards the end of the discussion. And we've asked you a dozen questions, and you've had a lot of great answers, too. I want each one of you to take a couple of minutes and just and think about this and give an answer. If there was one question, or is there one question that you wished we had asked tonight? What is it, and how would you have answered that question? Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks. I mean, the question I thought you were going to say was, what is Southbridge's greatest strength? You ask it every year, not this year, but it is certainly the people and the citizens of this town. There's something about working for this town. When I was working for the public school system, I did not want to be a teacher in any other district. I wanted to work for Southbridge. I wanted to fix my hometown. Why did I go to school in Southbridge and graduate a Southbridge Pioneer class of 2006? And as I'm a junior, senior, I felt the just undying urge to give back to my community. I'm not sure, but it's something about the water here, the lovely water we have in Southbridge. You get up every day, the pioneers are the first thing on your mind, pioneer pride. I mean, some of us up here bleed red and white as pioneers, and I do. For the rest of my life, I know I'm going to live here, and we just, the Southbridge citizens, it's those people that get you waking up every day to do the good work. They are the Southbridge's biggest strength. Without them, I don't think you'd see the council up here. I don't think you'd see people working as hard if it wasn't for, gosh, if you watched the last meeting with poor Mr. Riverniter's problem here that he's having at the Lebanon Hill Elderly Complex, I mean, that makes you want to get up and run for another 30 years, not just 3. I mean, the people of this town have always been there for me, and I want to be there for them. They are Southbridge's greatest strength.
Mike Montigny wants to run for council for the next 30 years. That's good. We got a spot right there for you. A couple of minutes for each one of you, and the same question. Who wants to tackle that question? You know, if there was a question that you wish we had asked, what would it be, and what would your answer be to that question?
I think I was wondering if you were going to ask a question about managing emergencies and thinking about the recent fires we had, and certainly a lot of the weather-related emergencies that we've seen in other areas. And so I thought you would ask about that, and certainly, you know, crediting our first responders and our fire department in particular, where they have created an emergency management plan and have worked together with social services and, you know, created this collaboration where social services respond much more quickly to any type of emergency in the community, and the community comes together much more quickly than in the past. And we've seen that with the recent fires, and, you know, just thinking about, you know, residents would want to know that, right? Whether they're living in an area where there are many triple deckers or living in an area where there's flooding when it starts raining, and making sure that residents have information about, you know, emergency like mitigation plans that we've recently talked about. So,
Gil or David?
Go ahead, Dave.
All right, thank you. I guess the question is, and I think Councilor Montigny answered some of the question that I was thinking in my head, and maybe I missed something here, but why am I running? Why do you want to be a town councilor? And I think it's an important question, because I wouldn't run if I had nothing else in the tank. I would run if I didn't care about this town. I think that is an important question, because people do run for positions and then they realize how difficult it is and the criticism you receive. And why would you put your family through that? Why do you not get $1 for coming up here and you're spending 40 hours a week trying to help residents, staff, town, council meetings, subcommittees? Why do I want to do it? I'm going to run the same reason I'm running now as what it was in 2018, because I care about this town, though it be my adopted town. This is where I live. This is where I pay my taxes. This is where my wife grew up. I met great, great people here, and they deserve great, great leadership. So I think at this point in time, it would be all these things we spoke about tonight could answer that question. But me personally, I don't have to do this. I want to do this. It's not about the title of counselor in front. I'm a sergeant major in the United States Marine Corps. That'll trump over anything that I've ever seen in my life. But I will tell you this, here now, I'm retired. I work part-time and I help veterans out quite a bit. But I love this town, and I'm happy to help the residents and get to see the smiles on their faces after they just got up there and cried at a podium. So thank you.
Thank you, David. That was a great question and a great response, too. I wonder, too, why does anybody want to do this? Because, I mean, it's probably all the glorification of being in this debate and, you know, having people call you and say, you're doing a hell of a job, you know, call you at night. I'm sure they do. It happens all the time. Scott Laza knows that better than anybody, for sure. I got him on speed dial at home.
And he's like 20 years old, right? So,
Gil, you're last up on this question.
The question I am is like, what could you possibly do to make Southbridge a better place? I was born and raised here. I love this town more than anything else. What I would do is, like everybody keeps saying all night long, bring businesses into this town and restaurants and retail. Without that, we're not going to thrive.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Did anybody want to add? I've got a question for you. I went down to see the town clerk, Maddie, and I asked her a couple of questions. Number one, about the binding question, of course, that's going to be on the ballot. But number two, I asked her what percentage of Southbridge residents voted in the last election. Does anybody know? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's right around 10, probably just under.
You're a little bit high on that. It's
Yeah, definitely.
8.8%.
Right, exactly.
You know, the year before that, it was 8.5%. And back in 2022, it was 7.6%.
Right.
Amazing that last year, over 90% of the people did not participate in the vote for a local election. And that's just downright scary. I do remember back, and I've been in town since 1980, and I do remember back then that we were around the 20s, 24, 25%, and it's a little bit scary. David, you would like to add anything?
I've got to be in countries where they've gained their freedom, and I've got to see them, and they're at 99% turnout. They're proud. They've had ink on their fingers. They've had, threats, and we live in a very safe country, believe it or not, compared to anywhere else in the world. And I think, and this isn't just our town, it's general, unless it's a primary presidential election. But complacency is where it's at, safe. Think about what we were at 9/11. Think about Pearl Harbor and these major effects, and it changed the mindset and it brought people back out. We're at a time where it could be not when or if, it's going to be when it happens again. And people will come out and vote because then they're scared of the fact that they may lose their freedoms or they hurt the country or hurt their families. And I think complacency at this point in time is our number one enemy as voters, because you don't see people in the lines like they should be out there in the lines, because they take advantage of and take advantage of what they have. It's right in front of them. They got everything they possibly need. Not everybody, not everything, but you know what I'm saying. It's something that they get to wake up every single morning and go, if they want to go to work, they want to raise their children, they're allowed to do stuff like that and make choices. And that's a problem, and I think, and I hope it fixes itself on its own without a tragedy happening again.
Does anybody else want to weigh in on just on just 8.8%? I can't get over that.
I talked to a lot of people about voting and voting for me for this election, and a lot of people think that their vote doesn't count. They're just going to do whatever the local government wants to do, and that's the way it's going to be. Unfortunately, that is not the truth. So people out there, please come and vote.
Can I mention one thing? I'm sorry, Jasmine.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Think about the state representative race that was a decade ago or something like that, where it was won by one vote. So think about those. So,
Especially in a local
And he's
election,
right.
when you got about
And vote does
1,500
count.
people voting.
Yeah, I think
Jasmine, did you want to add
I wanted
anything
to
to
add,
that?
I think I can remember when, I went to Southbridge High School a long time ago, that we talked a lot about civics and civic duty. And I think that we need to bring that back and talk more to students about civic engagement and what it means in the municipal elections. A lot of people, I do go out and talk to people even on non-election years about voting and about the municipal government. I think people have a misconception. People think like, oh, I just have to come in and vote when there's a presidential election. What does it mean to be in town government? What does that do? How does that affect your everyday? I think we need to educate people about how municipal government affects our everyday, which it affects our everyday much more than federal elections, and being out there more, being more transparent, and bringing the town hall out into the community more, I think will help us get that percentage up more.
Thank you so much. You know what, this has actually been a very good forum and not a lot of debate back and forth, because a lot of you agree with the decisions that have been made and some of the comments that have been made as well. But I'm always amazed when I sit here. I mean, these are easy. I got the easy thing. Everything's all written out for me. You guys got to speak right off the top of your heads, and I think that's amazing. Thank you very much. If you give them a big hand, and then I'd like to do the closing statements. And I let you know via email that the closing statements would be about a minute each. If you go over it, Don't take 10 minutes, but... if
Do I
it-
get my minutes back from the beginning of the day?
Not at a chance. But, I mean, if you want to take a minute and a half, that's okay. But we want to do the closing statements, and if you can look at that camera right over there, that's where people are actually watching, and we'll certainly see this because we play this ad nauseum on the Southbridge cable between now and Election Day, and it's going to show up on YouTube, and probably people will post it up on Facebook as well. But you're going to be seen, and you're going to be famous, all of you. And I want you to take just a minute, minute and a half, and Jasmine, I want you to do your closing statement first.
Great, thank you. So I want to thank the Forum Committee for putting this on, and my fellow candidates for engaging with me in this forum, and also to the viewers, thank you for joining us and staying with us. And, my name is Jasmine Rivas. Once again, I am a town councilor, and I'm asking for your vote for re-election. You've heard a lot of different ideas and a lot about our backgrounds and the votes and our different thoughts on things. And so I want to remind people, we want leaders that not only talk the talk, but walk the walk and do the hard work. This is hard work up here. It sometimes might look easy that we just show up, but the work happens behind the scenes. And having someone that has, I've worked, out in the community before I was a town councilor, when I've been a town councilor for the last 3 years, and whether win or lose, I will continue to work hard for the community that I love, for everyone, making Southbridge a better place for everybody, because we can't leave anyone behind. If we leave anyone behind, we're not going to do any better. Thank you. I ask for your vote on June 10th at the Southbridge Community Center. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jasmine. Closing statements, we will do David Adams. You're next.
Thank you, Rich. First of all, thank you for coming up here again this year doing this. And I appreciate the committee inviting us here and coming up with the questions. They were great questions. And thank you. As I said earlier, I wouldn't run if I didn't have more to offer or new ideas or anything like that. And I think just recently it's given me more ideas and more research, and as my brain continues to go. And the main thing here is about the Southbridge residents, about our community, because I live here, breathe it, smell it every single day. I understand. So I am asking for your vote on June 10th to vote for Dave Adams. But, one thing we talked about earlier was we got to consistently change. We got to consistently reevaluate ourselves and see what we can do right, what we did wrong, and what we need to fix. And I think that by putting me on the town council, that will consistently happen like it did for the first 6 years. I will say this, I appreciate all your time and all the community's questions on my Facebook Lives. Lastly, before that red freaking thing goes off, I wanted to wish Councilor Rivas a happy birthday. Thank you.
You got time to sing happy birthday if you'd like, David.
You don't want to hear me sing,
No,
but if you
not
do, that's
really.
fine. That's your fault.
Closing statements, Mike Montigny.
Thank you. I don't want to sit here and continue to just talk about all the same answers that we talked about before, but this has been wonderful. I thank Gus, Maureen, Shelley, Rich, you guys have all been fantastic. Thank you to everybody for watching and for paying attention to us up here. But, if I could, instead of talk about my experience and what we've done over and over again, I'll tell you a little bit how I've grown personally over the last 3 years being up here. For the better part of the first year and a half of my 3-year term, I was taking care of my father, who ended up passing away of terminal cancer, and I had a lot of other people in my family who have actually passed away that we've been taking care of. But after that, I continued to grow to the point where I had to buy all new clothes for this today because I've gained 25 pounds in the last 3 years. But that's all because I'm happy now. Being up here working for you, I'm happy because I found my wife, Aisha. I'm now a full-time stepfather while I work from home for my stepdaughter, Angelina, and I'm just more fully invested than I ever have been. I didn't think I could care more about education than I already do now that I have a stepdaughter. I am just going to come out here every day and continue to do the job. I'm always a phone call away for anybody that needs anything. And this has been the best job I've ever had in my life. It doesn't pay $1. And to be able to get up every day and know that I'm a town councilor hired by you voters and you citizens to work for you and for these people, it's just a blessing. It's the most humbling experience I've ever had. I certainly wouldn't have all the blessings I have in my life now if you guys didn't give me a shot to show you that I can help you lead this town and this school system and whatever else they throw at us into a better place. And I really appreciate your vote the first time around, and I sincerely appreciate if you would vote for me again on June 10th, 2025 at the Community Center on Chestnut Street. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. You know, but if you do that goal of 30 years on the council, you'll weigh about 350 pounds by the time you're done.
Maybe more.
That would be a shame. So, I mean,
I'm last.
you get a gym membership or something, you know. Gil, you get the, actually the glory spot because you get to close out the town council forum today.
I'd like to start off, I'm honored to be here. I'd like to thank everybody that made this whole debate possible. Thanks for the candidates for showing up. All you audience, thank you. I'm running because I love this town. Both my parents worked for this town. My mother was animal control officer for over 30 years. I can't say enough about her. I'm asking for your vote June 10th, Gil Provo, and I promise you, I will not let you down.
And Gil, I'm sorry, if I've been mispronouncing your name the entire time, I said provost.
I get that a lot. I asked my father how to pronounce it. He says Provo. I asked my uncles and they said Provo, so Provo just sounds better.
Sounds very French. At any rate, thank you very much. And one more time, just give them a hand. You guys did fantastically tonight. And I have the difficulty of trying to pick 3 out of the 4. It'd be nice if we could elect all 4 of you, but one of you might be left out, and it's up to you people at home. All 8.8%. Let's see if we can do a little bit better than 8.8%. I mean, I'm shooting for 9.2%. That would be kind of an improvement, but let's hope we get 10% or even a little bit better than that. Show up. It's the second Tuesday of the year. It is June 10th. That's the second Tuesday of the month of June, and polls open about 7 o'clock in the morning, and you got about 8 o'clock till at night to actually put your vote in, and there's no lines, unlike what David was saying about some of the countries where people wait in line and they fight to get their right to vote, and 99% of the people wait hours to vote. Only takes a couple of minutes. It'd be nice to get at least 10%. Hang around. We're going to take about a 5-minute break, and then we'll bring the school committee in, and they'll talk for about 15 minutes or so, maybe even a little bit longer. Thank you very much. My name's Rich Merrill. It was a lot of fun. Gil. Gil.
I'm right here.
Yeah. I got to tell you, Gus, appreciate you so much with all the questions that you wrote, and I know we worked as a collaborative effort with Maureen and Shelley Klein. Shelley Klein is her name, and if you can get her, Charlie, get her on camera if you possibly can, because I feel so bad. But those are the 3 people that helped out, and you have a good evening. We'll talk to you in about 5 minutes with the school committee. Thank you. Well, welcome back. Welcome back. Actually, we have a whole new crew here that is going to be from the school committee. They're running for school committee, and you'll see their names on the ballots. A couple of them are on the ballot, and a couple of write-in candidates, too. And they'll tell you who they are when they introduce to you. My name's Rich Merrill. We're going to do the school committee right now. And the school committee, you know, is in receivership. With the schools are in receivership. So the school committee doesn't have a lot of power, but it's still a very important position because hopefully we'll be out of receivership within the near future. And hopefully these people will help lead us out of receivership. You're going to have a chance to vote for these people. Again, 2 are write-in candidates and 2 are going to appear on the ballot, and it's up to you how you want to handle that at home. Let's take a look at the candidates, and you get to introduce yourselves from left to right. Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Rivers. I'm a longtime resident of Southbridge, Mass., and I'm running as a write-in candidate for school committee.
And you can, Norma?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Norma Tesnick. I am a Southbridge resident. I've been a resident for over 23 years, and I am running for the 3-year term on the school committee.
And Jacqueline Fernandez.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Fernandez. I am also a resident of Southbridge, and I am currently a write-in for the 1-year seat for school committee.
So Jacqueline, you're a write-in, and so is Stephanie. Maria Torres, your name will appear on the ballot. Just a quick intro.
Hi, my name is Maria Torres, and I'm currently on the school committee and running for a 3-year term. So I would be very honored, to have an opportunity to continue serving our community. And I am, I've adopted the town of Southbridge, and it's been a great experience, and I love the community. And once again, I congratulate all the town council candidates this year, and thank you very much. And again, I have to say my metaphors. It's not worrying about the storm to come, but it's how you dance in the rain. And today, everyone was dancing amazing. So I just wanted to say thank you once again for this opportunity. And, and I'm here to continue serving my community.
We're actually going to be a little bit more informal than we were with the town councilors on this, and I think that's probably to your satisfaction too. But there were, I figured about 3 questions we wanted to ask of the school committee. I mean, you'll get to have your closing statements, and you can talk about why you want to run for and what you think you can do for the school committee. But there's a big change that actually came through in Massachusetts about MCAS. So I want to ask this question, and question number 2, Charlie, if you want to put that up on the board, is now that MCAS is no longer legally required to graduate, how should Southbridge adequately assess whether our students have learned enough to do so?
So granted, either way.
2 minutes, by the way. We'll take 2 minutes.
Either way, we do have a local district requirement to graduate anyhow. It's a Mass Core within, Mass Core program within our requirement for coursework. So, there are already credit requirements to graduate, so I'm not too worried about the MCATs. But I do appreciate the fact that we can get data to know where we're at. But as far as it being included as a credential to graduate, we already have a local district coursework in place.
Jacqueline?
Sure. So I think it's also important to acknowledge that MCAS is still a thing, so some students still take it. So how can we use that data to analyze what the students have learned? I also think it's important to acknowledge that not every student is a test taker. We have students with disabilities, students who are maybe more kinesthetic learners or auditory learners. So how can we use that to show that they learned the Massachusetts framework's curriculum that is statewide? So I think it's important to find a way that our Southbridge students can show that they learned, even if it's not a pencil to paper test.
Norma, what do you think?
I'd like to see that we look at graduation through a broader lens, not just testing, but also being able to utilize internship readiness programs and also focusing on the socio-emotional capability of our children.
And Stephanie?
So they didn't remove MCAS completely. The MCAS testing tool is still in place and still being used. It's just not a requirement anymore to going forward to graduate. And actually, when I was going through the school system, MCAS wasn't a requirement to graduate either. It was based on your academic level of achievement and learning and how you did throughout the year based on reporting from your teacher, and that came in the form of a grade. And at the end of the year, that came in the form of a final grade. So those testing tools are also in place. So you have your curriculum, you have your teachers, you have your network of your school system, all wanting you to succeed, and that's all still in place. So there are very good tools in place to ensure that these kids are ready and are learning and are achieving.
I had mentioned before there have been a lot of changes over at certainly the high school and the middle school in the form of the receiver is now a different receiver than we've had in the past few years. The receiver now, let's go to question 3, Charlie. Have you made the opportunity to speak personally with the new receiver, Bill Metzger? And if so, what's your initial reaction of him? Have you had a chance to meet him, any of you?
Absolutely. I've had the opportunity to go visit Westry Elementary, Southbridge Academy. This Monday, Norma and I met with Mr. Metzger to do a walkthrough and tour of the middle school and the high school, and I was blown away. And I think he's going to be great for our schools, and so far so good. So looking forward to continuing to work with him.
Anybody else have a chance to actually meet with Bill Metzger? You have met?
So I have not, but I did want to acknowledge that I've been working with the current school committee to be able to get in contact with him. I have been helping kind of get up and running the CPAC, which is the Special Education Parent Action Council, which is a requirement in the state of Massachusetts. So I have been working with them, and the new receiver seems very excited to work with us to continue to make some growth.
Jacqueline, thank you. Anybody else?
I'd like to add Bill's introduction to the committee, I believe, last week. I think that was a very transparent, bold introduction of who he is to us, the committee, and the citizens of Southbridge. Him sharing a little of his background definitely showed the level of change wanted in his community. So I think he would be, and he is doing a great job currently.
Thank you, Norman. Stephanie?
I have not as of yet, Rich.
Okay. Charlie, I am going to go to question number 4, because I think this is important, and it's always been, it came up at the council meeting. Based on what you see of the school system, what do you think it needs to do to get out of receivership and resume self-governance?
I'd like to jump in.
Sure, Norma.
I'd say our current school committee has been meeting all requirements and have meeting all DESE plans guidelines. We have actually been able to move on to phase 2. With the current committee, we've been able to collaborate, meet with, the town councils, with our school principals. I've actually been in this position for the past 3 months and have been able to collaborate and meet all 5 schools in Southbridge. I've been able to do school tours and sit in and watch students and teachers engage actively. And it's pretty amazing on how well we are doing.
Stephanie?
So the document that she's saying they're following is part of the 3-phase plan that they have to complete. I see it as a project, so that document's part of a project. And there's a project team, and that project team is the school committee. It's also the stakeholders involved are the town council, the people in the school system, the teachers, the parents, the students. So it's a big project. So there's many moving parts to that project, and as a project team, you want to make sure that you're following those modules, so that the 3-phase document is their starting point. And also in identifying the key areas for improvement in order to write that turnaround plan is important, which I know will be happening as well. And then requesting to have the school system returned to the school committee is also part of that project. So there's a lot of big moving parts, but it's already begun. The process has begun. It's moving right along, and hopefully, like Councilor Montigny said earlier in the candidates forum, hoping the end goal is to have the school system returned to the town of Southbridge in a year as versus 3 years. But I mean, it's not a given, but that looks like that's the short-term goal for this project.
Maria, did you chime in already?
You know, I agree with all the other candidates as far as that. I have to say the turnover plan is already in effect. I congratulate immensely and very honored to work with such amazing school committee members that are already existing and them giving me the opportunity to join their team. And the fact that we're close to completing phase 2 is unbelievable, and just looking forward to seeing, continuing to see the progress go and be a part of that.
When do you think it's going to happen? This is open for anybody. I mean, make a prediction. What do you think is going to
6
happen?
months.
Are we a year away, 2 years, 5 years? What do you think?
You have to ask me again a year from now.
I'll ask you next year.
I would say
answer for you
short-term 1 year, long-term 3 years at most, depending on, what's going on.
You think 1 to 3 years?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm hoping you're right.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I think I agree with everybody here that it's important that we follow the DESI plan and all the phases. I think any moment we kind of venture off into something else that's going to be a setback. So making sure we have almost like a detailed task list to make sure we're checking all the boxes. So not only that we're out of receivership, but we don't ever find ourselves in this place again, because I don't think the town of Southbridge wants that.
No, I don't think so. It's been 8 years. Nobody predicted it was going to be 8 years. And
It's actually 9, Rich.
is it 9? Yeah. Thank you for publicly correcting me, too, on that, Stephanie, No, I'll write that down so I'll remember next year it'll be at 10. We'll have an anniversary celebration,
That's right.
hopefully as they leave the school. This is kind of a big picture question, but we asked it at the council, and we might as well ask it here. But we're only going to in 10 years down the road. Question number 6, Charlie. Put it up on the screen. What is your vision for Southbridge schools in 10 years? What do you think it's going to look like? Anybody?
Hopefully in 10 years, we're going to have a school system where people are coming back, they're picking the school system as their main focal point of coming back coming to want to live in Southbridge, first of all, and wanting to raise their family here because of the school system. I know that's a factor when you're looking at real estate. Is one of the first questions asked is, how's the school system? So I want the feedback to be, the school system is great. We have a great elementary school system, we have a great middle school, we have a great high school. We're rich in resources, educational resources, great programs. We have a lot of offerings. We have one of the best bands in the area, and academics and sports are top of the line. And that's the kind of feedback that I want people to be hearing when they're looking at real estate and wanting to come to Southbridge. And I believe we already have that. We just have some kinks in the system that need to be worked out, that we're going to work out.
Who's next?
I would like to see our schools be on the top 10 list of Massachusetts in 10 years.
Top 10 schools in Mass, 10
That's
years.
right.
Wouldn't that be nice? Jacqueline?
I would love to see our graduation rates increase. I feel like it's continued to drop over the years. I would also like to see a decrease in school choice and have our Southbridge kids stay in Southbridge and kind of fill the hallways, kind of like how it used to be. Also, what was mentioned previously at the previous debate, looking at is it possible to have trades or different options for kids who may not go, to college or maybe not even get that athletic scholarship, but what options do we have for all children in the community?
Maria and Norma, this question would be for you, because I'm just, and feel free to chime in too, but off the top of my head, serving on a committee that has no voting power to speak of, really has no power to really make changes because you've got the receiver and the receiver seems to make all the decisions. Do you feel satisfaction being on a committee? And do you think you're making any kind of changes with the receiver, or are you kind of banging your heads against the wall?
Not at all. I think we're all working together, which is great, along with the town councils as well. And if we all continue working together, I think we'll be on the, continue on the road to success and take back our schools and fully, be self-governance. And at that point in 10 years, we'll have a lot of great experience, a lot of things that we've learned along the way. We're looking to take back our schools and continue doing great.
You're feeling optimistic?
Oh, absolutely.
definitely. Norma?
I'd personally say being on a committee that currently has no power gives me the ability to provide all that I can to get back that power, right? I'm working as a team builder, as a team leader with the current committee, and just to show everyone that you can get what you want if you really put your heart towards it and, you know, work hard to receiving what the best outcome would be for your community.
And Jacqueline, Stephanie, I mean, are you okay getting on a committee that may not have the power that, let's say, somebody on the council might have?
Sure, because there's a great team already in place. There's a great plan of what needs to get done already in motion. Their goals are already have been set, and there's a purpose. And so to come on board and be able to help in that purpose, to the end goal, of course, is to have the school system return to the town of Southbridge. And so to be able to help with that is an honor, and the best way to get there is constant communication, transparency, working together, and that's already been put in motion. So to be able to give back to the community and work with everyone on that is a great thing right now, to be able to even do it at a volunteer level. Nobody comes over and says, I want to be paid to go on the town council, go on the school committee. We don't come here for that reason. We come here to help. We come here to give back. We come here to offer our skills and to be able to make it better and bring people to the community so that they can say, yeah, this is a great place to live. This is a great place to work. This is a great place to have our family, live and thrive. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here.
And Jacqueline?
Sure. I agree as well. I think it's important to acknowledge while we may not have the typical power of the school committee, the members that are already there show strength and they are powerful and within our community. They advocate, and I have been working with them behind the scenes to continue to advocate for our community. So we definitely have to give credit where credit is due. Southbridge is strong, and the school committee that we have now is strong, and they continue to advocate for everybody. And even if I am not, selected, my plan is still to continue to advocate for everybody in the community and, continue to get that power back.
I told you that I'd ask you about 3 questions, and I think I've asked you 5 or maybe even 6 at this point. So I think we're going to call it a night, but what I'd like you to do is just kind of look at that camera, talk to the people at home, and just say why it is that you're running for school committee and why they should vote for you. And you know what? Who wants to start first if you want to put your hand in the air? Stephanie, we'll start with you, and then we'll go Maria, and then Jacqueline and Norma. Stephanie.
So I've lived in Southbridge pretty much all my life. My family's gone to school here. My kids have gone to school here. So I'm invested. I'm a homeowner, and I've given back to this community. I've coached Lassie League. I also have the parents page on Facebook, which we started back in 2013 and kept it up and running, providing valuable information to parents throughout the years regarding the Southbridge school system, answering questions, providing valuable information, advocating for others. Both my kids, my daughter, Chelsea was in band, so I was a band mom. I also took part in PTA, Girl Scouts, all that. So I've been enmeshed in the Southbridge school system for a long time. And if that's not enough, I also have my dad, who was a math teacher at Southbridge High for over 30 years. So we also had that in our family as well. I've always wanted to give back to the town of Southbridge. I've always been invested in politics and wanting to help out. I have an engineering background. I also have a project management background. I have a very sharp tool set of skills that I can bring to the table and be a valuable team member if chosen. So I'm asking for your vote on June 10th to write me in as a candidate and elect me to school committee. And down at the community center, we need more people to get out and vote. So please do come out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Jacqueline, I think I'm going to go to you because you're the other write-in candidate, is that right? So we want to go with you. Take
Sure.
a couple of minutes.
Again, my name is Jacqueline Fernandez, and I feel like I am a strong candidate. I have continued to be an active member in the community. I have helped restart the CPAC. You will see me at the football field, at the baseball field. You will see me in the center of town, trying to make a difference with the children in our community. I have a wealth of knowledge. I am currently a special education teacher. I am a BCBA. I've been part of the Parent Action Committee with the middle school. I have collaborated with the teachers, with the principals, and I want to continue to make that growth. I will always be here. I don't plan on going anywhere. So I really just ask for your support. A lot of you may have seen me in town, and I want to continue to make a difference and be present. So I sincerely ask for your vote as a write-in on June 10th.
And Maria, you're one of the two that's going to be appearing on the ballot. Maria Torres, your closing statements.
I just want to thank everyone for this evening and for Maureen and Gus and Rich for coordinating this candidate forum, and Shelley as well. So I just want to say thank you for everyone that came out to support us this evening, and I would be honored for your vote June 10th at our Southbridge Senior Center. We need more people to vote. I want to go for 10%, okay, Rich? And just, continue to do an outreach, work with our community, also offer, some more opportunity for our students. They're our future. They're the ones that are going to be sitting in our seats in the future. So we want to lead by example and continue being the great leaders that we are today. So I would be honored for your vote on June 10th. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And Norma, you can close out the school committee portion of the forum tonight.
Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I'd like to say my name is Norma Tisnick, and I am running for the 3-year seat on the school committee. And the reasons why I am running will probably take us an extra 48 hours. But one of the focuses is on to regaining ownership of our school government and being able to impact whether it's one life or many lives throughout this 3 years, and be an advocate and a leader that walks it like she talks it. And I would appreciate if you would vote for me June 10th, 2025, and I actually challenge the entire town of Southbridge to come out and vote. I encourage you, your vote matters, you matter, and instead of 10%, let's make it at 100%.
Thank you very much, all four of you. I respect that you're running for that committee, the school committee, and I hope next time we get together, we're talking about how we control the schools and not the state. It's up to the people at home, and let's hope that we get that 100% vote. That would be amazing. But I would settle for 90%. I'd be okay with 80%. But 8.8% is what we got last year. We can do better than that, certainly. Let's hope for 10, 15, 20%. That would be great. My name is Rich Merrill. I'm very happy that you tuned in tonight, and I'm very happy that you all showed up tonight, and the people that we had in the audience earlier for the committee. This was a good night. I feel positive about Southbridge. Every time we do this, I feel just a little bit more positive. Hopefully you feel positive enough to vote. Thank you and good night.